The judgment hall of the Vrexian Empire was carved from black volcanic stone, its walls adorned with the skulls of conquered species, a monument to power, a reminder that mercy was weakness. Kira knelt in chains at the center of the chamber, barely conscious. She was 16, though small and frail even for her species, the Lyrian. Her silver skin was bruised and cut, her wings broken and twisted at wrong angles. Blood dripped from her mouth onto the polished floor. Above her, seated on thrones of obsidian, sat the Council of Five, the military commanders who ruled the Vrexian Empire with absolute authority. High Commander Valen, a massive Vrexian with crimson scales and cold amber eyes, spoke first. His voice echoed through the chamber. Kira of Lyria, you stand accused of espionage against the Vrexian Empire, of transmitting military intelligence to rebel forces, of treason against the sovereign authority of this council. Kira tried to speak, but her voice came out as a rasp. I didn't... Silence! Commander Thane, second in command, slammed his fist on the armrest. You were found in a restricted military zone with encrypted data. The evidence is clear. But I can explain... Kira coughed blood. Please, if you'd just listen... We do not grant trials to vermin, Valen said coldly. The Lyrian species surrendered their rights when they harbored rebels. You are enemy combatants, all of you. My people didn't harbor anyone. We were neutral. Your neutrality was complicity. Your weakness was choice. And now you pay the price. Valen stood, his massive form casting a shadow over Kira. The sentence is death, to be carried out immediately. No. Kira struggled against her chains. I'm innocent. I was trying to help. If you'd just let me explain what I found... Executioner, Valen called. A Vrexian guard stepped forward, raising a plasma blade that hummed with lethal energy. Kira's eyes filled with tears. She was going to die. No trial, no defense, no chance to tell the truth. In the gallery above, hundreds of beings watched, Vrexian citizens, diplomatic observers from allied species, military personnel, all silent, all accepting, all except one. Dr. Marcus Chen stood among the human diplomatic observers, his hands clenched into fists, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst. He knew the truth. He'd been there that day, 3 years ago, when Kira had been captured. He'd seen what really happened, seen what she'd actually found, seen who'd framed her, and he'd said nothing. For 3 years, Marcus had carried the weight of his silence, the fear of speaking up, the knowledge that one human voice meant nothing against an empire. But watching this child, because that's what she was, just a child, about to be executed for a crime she didn't commit. I have to say something, Marcus whispered. The human ambassador beside him, Ambassador Patricia Cole, touched his arm. Don't. You'll be arrested, executed alongside her. One human can't stop this. Someone has to try. Marcus, I'm ordering you. But Marcus was already moving. He pushed through the crowd, ignoring the surprised looks, the guards reaching for weapons. He reached the railing overlooking the chamber floor and shouted with everything he had, Stop! She's innocent! I have proof! The executioner paused, blade raised. The council turned their eyes to Marcus. High Commander Valen's expression was one of cold amusement. A human dares to interrupt imperial justice. It's not justice, it's murder, and I can prove it. This human is clearly disturbed, Commander Thane said. Remove him. Guards moved toward Marcus, but he pulled something from his jacket, a small data crystal that he'd hidden for 3 years, kept secret, protected at all costs. This contains the truth about what happened 3 years ago. Kira didn't commit espionage. She discovered it. She found evidence of treason within your own command structure, and she was silenced before she could report it. The chamber erupted in whispers. The guards hesitated. Valen's eyes narrowed dangerously. You make serious accusations, human. Because they're true, and I have proof. Marcus held up the crystal. I was there. I saw everything, and I've stayed silent for 3 years because I was afraid. But I can't watch her die for something she didn't do. I can't live with that. Then you'll die with her, Valen said coldly. Guards, arrest... Wait. A new voice. Commander Saren, the only female on the council, raised her hand. If this human has evidence, we should review it. The Empire is built on order and law. If there is doubt... There is no doubt, Thane interrupted. The girl was found with stolen data, which she acquired while investigating corruption, Marcus shouted. Corruption that goes to the highest levels of your military. And if you execute her and me without hearing the evidence, everyone in this chamber will know you're hiding something." Silence. Every eye in the gallery was on the council now. Marcus had gambled. He'd made this public enough that silencing him would look like confirmation. Valen stared at Marcus for a long moment. Then, "Very well. Let the human speak. Let him present his evidence. And when it proves to be lies, he and the Lyrian spy will die together." Marcus's legs nearly gave out with relief and terror. He'd bought them time, but now he had to deliver. "Bring him down," Valen ordered. As guards escorted Marcus to the chamber floor, he met Kira's eyes. She was staring at him with confusion and desperate hope. "Who are you?" she whispered as he reached her. "Someone who should have spoken up 3 years ago," Marcus said quietly. "I'm sorry it took me so long. You're going to die for this?" "Maybe, but at least I'll die knowing I finally did the right thing." Marcus stood before the council, acutely aware of how small and powerless he was. He was human, a species barely tolerated in Vrexian space, seen as weak and irrelevant, and he was about to accuse the most powerful military commanders in the galaxy of treason. "State your name and position," Valen commanded. "Dr. Marcus Chen, xenobiologist. I was assigned to the research station on Lyria 3 as part of the Human Vrexian Scientific Exchange Program. And you claim to have evidence of, what exactly?" Marcus took a breath. 3 years ago, I was conducting field research in the northern territories of Lyria. That's where I witnessed the events that led to Kira's arrest. She didn't commit espionage, she discovered it. "Explain." Lyria was supposed to be a neutral world. The treaty between the Empire and the Lyrian people guaranteed their autonomy in exchange for scientific cooperation. But someone in the Vrexian military was violating that treaty. They'd established a secret weapons facility in the Forbidden Zone, an area sacred to the Lyrian people. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Forbidden Zone was supposedly off-limits even to the Empire. Kira discovered this facility by accident. She was searching for her younger brother who'd gone missing. When she found the facility, she also found evidence that it was being used to manufacture biological weapons in violation of interstellar law. "Lies," Commander Thane said, but his voice lacked conviction. "She documented everything," Marcus continued, "took recordings, collected samples. She was going to report it to the council herself. But before she could, the facility was attacked by actual rebels, people who'd also discovered its existence. In the chaos, Kira was captured by Vrexian forces." "And this evidence you claim to have?" Valen demanded. Marcus held up the crystal. "This contains Kira's original recordings, the real ones, not the falsified versions presented at her arrest. It also contains my own observations from that day. And most importantly," he paused for effect, "it contains proof of who authorized the illegal facility, who ordered the cover-up, and who framed a 16-year-old girl to hide their own crimes." "Show us," Commander Saren said. Thane stood abruptly. "This is clearly a fabrication. We should not waste—" "Commander Thane," Saren's voice was sharp. "If you have nothing to hide, you should welcome evidence that exonerates the Empire." Thane sat slowly, his expression dark. A technician brought forward a holographic projector. Marcus inserted the crystal with shaking hands. "Before we begin," he said, "I want everyone here to understand something. I've kept this hidden for 3 years. I've lived with the guilt of my silence every single day. I told myself I was protecting myself, that one voice couldn't make a difference. That speaking up would only get me killed and change nothing." He looked at Kira, who was watching him with tears streaming down her face. "I was wrong. Silence in the face of injustice isn't protection, it's complicity, and I won't be complicit anymore." Marcus activated the crystal. The hologram flickered to life, showing a recording from 3 years earlier. The perspective was from Kira's point of view, a small recording device she wore. The image showed her flying through a forest on Lyria, her wings carrying her between massive trees. "Jax! Jax, where are you?" Kira's voice, younger and frightened, called out for her brother. She flew for several minutes, searching. Then she saw it, a clearing that shouldn't exist. The trees had been removed, replaced by a massive facility built into the mountainside. Vrexian military vessels surrounded it. "What is this?" Kira whispered. "This is the Forbidden Zone. No one is allowed here." She descended carefully, hiding in the foliage. The recording showed her approaching the facility, using a maintenance entrance to slip inside. What the camera captured next made everyone in the judgment hall lean forward. Rows upon rows of containment chambers, Inside each one, Lyrian civilians, hundreds of them, all unconscious, all connected to machines. Oh gods, Jax! Kira's voice was panicked now. She moved through the facility frantically, checking faces. Then she found him, a boy no older than 10, inside one of the chambers. Jax! No, no, no! Kira tried to open the chamber, but it was locked. That's when she heard voices, Vrexian soldiers approaching. She hid, her camera still recording. 2 Vrexian officers appeared on screen. Commander Thane wants the test subjects prepared for the next phase, one said. All of them? Even the children? Especially the children. Their biology responds better to the compound. If the bioweapon works on Lyrians, it'll work on any species. The chamber gasped. Bioweapons. Illegal, under every interstellar treaty. The recording continued. It showed Kira downloading data from a terminal. Chemical formulas, test results, authorization codes, all clearly marked with Thane's command signature. Then the facility shook. Explosions. The rebel attack Marcus had mentioned. The hologram showed chaos. Alarms blaring. Kira trying to free her brother from the chamber. Vrexian soldiers rushing to defend the facility. And then, Kira being grabbed by a soldier, the data device ripped from her hands, her brother's chamber being evacuated while she screamed. The recording ended. The judgment hall was silent. Then Marcus activated a second file. This is my testimony, recorded the same day. The hologram showed Marcus's perspective now, him hiding in the forest outside the facility during the attack. His voice narrated, Dr. Marcus Chen, xenobiologist, Human Diplomatic Corps. I'm recording this because I need proof of what I've witnessed. The Vrexian military has established an illegal bioweapons facility in the Lyrian Forbidden Zone. They're using Lyrian civilians as test subjects. I've just witnessed them capture a Lyrian girl who discovered the facility. I heard Commander Thane's name mentioned multiple times as the authorizing officer. I'm a coward. I should go to the authorities. But I'm terrified. If I speak up, I'll disappear like the Lyrians in those chambers. So I'm hiding this recording. Maybe someday I'll have the courage to use it. Maybe someday someone will. The hologram faded. Marcus looked at Thane. The facility was destroyed in the rebel attack. All the test subjects were killed, including Kira's brother. And rather than admit what you'd been doing, you framed Kira as a spy. You altered her recordings to make it look like she was stealing military secrets, when in reality, she was documenting your war crimes. Thane's face was a mask of fury. This is fabricated. Computer-generated lies by human rebels. The data crystal is 3 years old, Marcus said calmly. It can be authenticated. The metadata, the encryption, the timestamp, all verifiable. This isn't a fabrication. It's the truth you've been hiding. Commander Saren stood. Commander Thane, did you authorize a bioweapons facility on Lyria? I authorized a defensive research station, using civilians as test subjects. That was an unfortunate necessity. You murdered hundreds of people. Kira's voice rang out, broken but fierce. You killed my brother. You killed innocent families, and then you blamed me. You were collateral damage, Thane roared. The Empire needed that research. We needed weapons to fight the rebels, to maintain order. Your people were weak, useless. Using them for something productive was actually merciful. The chamber erupted in chaos. Saren's voice cut through. Commander Thane, you are hereby relieved of command and placed under arrest for crimes against sentient beings, unauthorized weapons development, and falsification of evidence. You can't arrest me. I'm a high commander. You were a high commander, Valen said coldly, and Marcus was shocked to see genuine disgust on the high commander's face. You've brought shame to the Empire. Guards, take him. As guards moved toward Thane, he pulled a weapon. I won't be punished for doing what was necessary. The Empire... He never finished. Commander Saren moved with shocking speed, disarming him and forcing him to his knees. The Empire, she said coldly, does not murder children. The judgment hall exploded into chaos. Diplomatic observers shouted questions. Military officials demanded answers. Half the council looked shocked, the other half calculating their next moves. Commander Valen raised his hand for silence. This changes nothing about the girl's fate. It changes everything, Marcus interrupted. She's innocent. Your own commander framed her. She still possessed classified information. That alone warrants... Executing her now makes you complicit in Thane's cover-up, Commander Saren said sharply. The entire galaxy is watching. Release her. Valen's eyes narrowed. But he saw the truth. Too many witnesses, too much evidence. Fine, the Lyrian is pardoned. But you, human, you withheld evidence for 3 years. That's obstruction. I'll accept whatever punishment I deserve, Marcus said. But Kira goes free. Kira was crying. You saved me. Why? Because I should have saved your brother too. I'm sorry I was too late. As guards removed her chains, Ambassador Cole appeared. Marcus, we need to leave. Now. Half of Thane's loyalists are in this building. But it was too late. Explosions rocked the judgment hall, the chamber filled with smoke and screams. Thane's supporters are staging a coup, Saren shouted. They know the evidence will spread. They're trying to seize control. Valen drew his weapon. Protect the council, seal the exits. But the rebels were already inside. Armed Vrexian soldiers burst through the doors, weapons raised. This empire has grown weak. Their leader, Colonel Draxis, roared. Thane showed strength. We will not bow to human lies and alien sympathy. Marcus grabbed Kira. We need to run. Now. They fled through service corridors as battle erupted behind them. Ambassador Cole and her security team led the way. The spaceport, Cole said. We get to the human ship and leave before this whole planet descends into civil war. Behind them, the Vrexian Empire was tearing itself apart. Thane's supporters versus Saren's loyalists. Those who believed in brutal order versus those who demanded justice. Marcus's testimony hadn't just freed Kira, it had fractured an empire. They reached the spaceport as explosions lit the sky. The capital city was burning, military forces fighting in the streets. There, Cole pointed to the human diplomatic vessel. Move! As they ran, Vrexian rebel soldiers spotted them. The human witness, kill him! Plasma fire erupted around them. Cole's security team returned fire, covering their escape. Get them on the ship, Cole ordered. I'll hold them. Ambassador, no! Marcus protested. That's an order, Dr. Chen. You carry the evidence. You're more important than me now. She turned to face the approaching soldiers. Go! Marcus and Kira reached the ship. As the ramp closed, Marcus saw Cole fall. The ship launched, barely escaping the pursuing fighters. In the medical bay, a doctor treated Kira's injuries. Marcus sat beside her, numb with shock. She died for us, Kira whispered. A lot of people are dying right now because I finally told the truth. You think you caused this? Didn't I? Kira took his hand. No. Thane caused this. You just exposed it. Sometimes the truth burns down empires that deserve to fall. 2 months later, the Vrexian Empire had split into 3 factions. Saren's reformists controlled the core worlds, demanding trials and transparency. Valen's traditionalists held the military strongholds, calling for order above all. Draxis's purists waged war on both, claiming the empire had been corrupted by weakness. Marcus testified before the Interstellar Council. His evidence was broadcast across the galaxy. Public opinion turned against the Vrexian Empire's brutality. Kira stood with him, her voice finally heard. They took everything from me. My brother, my wings, my childhood. But they couldn't take the truth. Dr. Chen made sure of that. The Council passed sanctions, trade embargoes, peacekeeping forces. The Vrexian Empire, once unstoppable, was brought to its knees, not by weapons, by one human's testimony. 6 months after the testimony that shattered the Vrexian Empire, Marcus stood in a refugee camp on the border world of Terminus 7, surrounded by thousands of displaced Lyrians. The camp stretched for miles, makeshift shelters, overcrowded medical tents, children playing in the dirt while their parents waited in endless lines for food rations. These were the survivors, the ones who'd escaped when the Empire fractured into civil war, the ones who'd lost everything when their homeworlds became battlegrounds. Dr. Chen, a young Lyrian aid worker, approached. We have another group arriving from the southern provinces. About 200, many injured. We're out of medical supplies. Marcus checked his datapad. The numbers were overwhelming. Contact the Human Relief Organization, tell them we need emergency medical shipments, and reach out to the reformist Vrexian government. Saren promised us support. They're fighting their own battles. Resources are stretched thin everywhere. Try anyway. These people can't wait. As the aid worker left, Kira appeared beside him. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, her repaired wings drooping slightly. She'd been working 18-hour days for months. Another supply shortage, she asked. Always. We're treating symptoms, not causes. We need a permanent solution. I know. That's why I've been talking to the Interstellar Council. They're willing to provide funding for a Lyrian recovery initiative, but only if we have a comprehensive plan. Marcus looked at her. What kind of plan? Resettlement programs, medical facilities, educational systems, economic development. We need to rebuild not just buildings, but an entire society. Kira's voice was passionate but tired. My people were scattered, enslaved, experimented on. We need more than charity. We need a future. That's a massive undertaking. Which is why I need you to lead it with me. Marcus blinked. What? You're the only human most Vrexians trust. The one who exposed Thane. If you're involved, the council will take it seriously. And Marcus, her voice softened, you're the one who taught me that silence is complicity. Well, Band-Aids and refugee camps are their own kind of silence. We need to do more. Marcus thought about it. He'd been offered medals, speaking tours, academic positions. He'd refused them all, choosing instead to work in the camps, helping where he could. But Kira was right. They were treating symptoms. Okay, let's build something permanent. What do you need? First, we need to go back to Lyria, to the site of Thane's facility. There are still bodies there, families who never got closure. We need to give them that. 3 weeks later, Marcus and Kira stood in the ruins of the bioweapons facility. The rebel attack had destroyed most of the structure, but parts remained. Twisted metal, shattered containment chambers, the ghosts of horror. This is where they kept my brother, Kira said, standing before a collapsed section. Chamber 247. I memorized the number from the recording. A forensic team was excavating the site, carefully recovering remains. Each body documented, each identity confirmed when possible, each family notified. We've recovered 387 remains so far, the lead investigator told them, mostly Lyrian civilians, ages ranging from 6 to 70, all showing signs of chemical exposure consistent with bioweapon testing. How long until you've recovered everyone? Marcus asked. Months, maybe longer. The collapse buried entire sections. Kira watched the careful, respectful work. Every single person here has a name, a family, a story. They're not just victims, they're people. Which is why we're documenting everything, the investigator assured her. This site will become a memorial. No one will forget what happened here. As they walked through the ruins, they found something unexpected. A partially intact computer terminal in what had been Thane's office. Can you access it? Kira asked the tech specialist who'd accompanied them. Maybe. Give me a few minutes. 20 minutes later, the specialist had bypassed security. There are files here, lots of them. Correspondence, orders, financial records. Print everything, Marcus said. This is evidence for the trials. As data began transferring, Marcus noticed something. Wait, these dates. Some of these orders are from before Thane was assigned to Lyria. Look, authorization signatures from other commanders. This facility wasn't just Thane's operation. Kira leaned in, reading. Oh gods, Commander Valen knew he approved funding. And there are others. Names I don't recognize, but whose ranks suggest high-level involvement. This goes deeper than we thought, Marcus said quietly. Thane wasn't working alone. This was systemic. Then we expose all of them. The evidence from Thane's terminal sparked a second wave of investigations. Commander Valen was arrested within days. 3 other high-ranking Vrexian officials followed. The trials revealed a network of corruption that stretched across the Empire. Illegal facilities, unauthorized experiments, falsified reports. The Vrexian traditionalist faction, already weakened by civil war, collapsed entirely. Their leaders either defected to the reformists or fled to the purist territories. Marcus testified again and again, each trial peeling back another layer of deception. You're becoming the galaxy's most famous whistleblower, Kira told him after the 4th trial. How does it feel? Exhausting. I just wanted to save one person. Now I'm dismantling an empire piece by piece. That one person was connected to everything else. That's how corruption works. Pull one thread and the whole thing unravels. I know, but I miss being anonymous. Miss being just a scientist studying alien plants. Do you regret speaking up? Marcus thought carefully. No, but I grieve what it cost. Ambassador Cole, the stability we lost, the civil war, all those refugees. Sometimes I wonder if my testimony caused more harm than good. It didn't. The harm was already there. You just exposed it. The violence, the displacement. Those are the death throes of a corrupt system. Something better is being born from the ashes. I hope you're right. 9 months after Marcus's original testimony, the Lyrian Recovery Initiative officially launched. Funded by the Interstellar Council, backed by the reformist Vrexian government, and led by Marcus and Kira, the initiative had 3 primary goals: resettle displaced Lyrians, provide medical and psychological support, and rebuild Lyrian society. The headquarters was established on Lyria itself, in the rebuilt capital city that had been destroyed during the Civil War. Marcus stood at the dedication ceremony, looking at the new building, modern, beautiful, with architectural elements honoring Lyrian culture. 3 years ago, I hid in fear, Marcus said in his speech. I watched injustice and stayed silent. Today, we stand together, human and Lyrian, former enemies working as partners, building something that honors those we lost and protects those who remain. The Lyrian Recovery Initiative isn't just about rebuilding buildings. It's about rebuilding trust, proving that truth matters, that justice is possible, that even the smallest voice can create change. Kira spoke next. My brother died in a facility built on lies. Ambassador Cole died protecting the truth. Commander Sarin reformed an empire at great personal cost. We honor them by ensuring their sacrifices meant something, by making this galaxy better. The crowd, thousands of Lyrians, humans, and even some reformist Vrexians, applauded. After the ceremony, Commander Sarin approached privately. You've done well, she told Marcus. Better than I expected when you first spoke up. I'm just trying to fix what I helped break. You didn't break it. You revealed it was already broken. There's a difference. Sarin paused. I want you to know, the reformist government is drafting new laws, mandatory trials, evidence standards, protections for whistleblowers. Your testimony changed more than just the Vrexian Empire. It changed how the entire galaxy thinks about justice. That's good, but laws only work if people enforce them, which is why we need people like you, to remind us why those laws matter, to keep speaking truth when others want silence. 2 years after the testimony, Marcus received an unexpected visitor. He was in his office at the initiative headquarters when his assistant announced, Dr. Chen, there's someone here to see you. She says her name is Dr. Sarah Martinez. She was friends with Ambassador Cole. Marcus's heart clenched. Send her in. The woman who entered was in her 50s, wearing a diplomatic corps uniform. Her eyes were kind, but sad. Dr. Chen, I'm sorry to arrive unannounced. I'm Sarah Martinez. I was Patricia Cole's deputy. I wanted to meet the man she died protecting. Ambassador Cole was a hero. You're the reason Patricia believed humanity could make a difference in the galaxy. She wrote about you in her journal. Sarah pulled out a datapad. I thought you should see this. She showed Marcus an entry from Ambassador Cole's private logs, dated 2 days before the testimony. Dr. Chen is planning something. I can see it in his eyes. He's finally going to speak up about what he witnessed 3 years ago. Part of me wants to stop him. It's dangerous, possibly suicidal, but the bigger part of me is proud. He's been carrying this burden for so long. Maybe finally telling the truth will set him free. And maybe, just maybe, his courage will inspire others to speak up too. That's what we need. Not more silence. More truth-tellers. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. She knew. Before I even told her my plan, she knew. Patricia had good instincts about people. She saw your potential before you did. Sarah paused. She asked me to give you something, if anything ever happened to her. Sarah handed him a small package. Inside was Ambassador Cole's diplomatic insignia, the symbol she'd worn proudly for 20 years. She wanted you to have this, to remember that speaking truth is the highest form of diplomacy. You don't need a title or position, you just need courage. Marcus held the insignia carefully. I'll honor this, I promise. I know you will. That's why she chose you. 14 months after Marcus's testimony before the Council, Commander Thane's trial finally began. The Interstellar Court of Justice on Geneva Station was packed with observers, journalists, diplomats, survivors, and beings from across the galaxy wanting to witness accountability. Marcus sat in the gallery with Kira, both of them tense. Are you ready for this? Kira asked. Seeing him again? No, but it's necessary. The judges entered, 5 beings from different species, all chosen for their impartiality and legal expertise. Chief Justice Kellar, of Vrexian herself, presided. This court is now in session. Commander Thane of the former Vrexian Empire, you stand accused of crimes against sentient beings, unauthorized weapons development, murder, falsification of evidence, and conspiracy. How do you plead? Thane stood, his crimson scales still brilliant despite months of imprisonment. His voice was cold and defiant. Not guilty. I acted in service of the Empire. Everything I did was authorized under Imperial military law. Imperial law does not supersede interstellar treaties prohibiting bioweapons and the targeting of civilians, Justice Keelar said sharply. But we will hear evidence and determine your guilt or innocence accordingly. Prosecution, present your case. The lead prosecutor, a human named David Ramsey, stood. Your Honors, we will prove that Commander Thane established and operated an illegal bioweapons facility on Lyria, that he used civilian prisoners, including children, as unwilling test subjects, that hundreds died under his command, and that when his crimes were discovered by a young Lyrian girl, he falsified evidence and condemned her to death to hide his actions. We will present testimony from survivors, documentation from the facility, expert analysis of the bioweapons, and most importantly, the original recordings that exposed this conspiracy. The evidence will show that Commander Thane is guilty of the worst crimes imaginable, the systematic murder of innocents in the name of power. Over the next 3 weeks, the trial unfolded with devastating clarity. Forensic experts testified about the remains recovered from the facility. Every victim showed signs of chemical exposure. The compounds found in their tissues matched the bioweapons formulas in Commander Thane's files. These people were deliberately infected, then monitored until death. It's torture disguised as science. Medical professionals detailed the suffering. The bioweapon was designed to be slow-acting. Victims would experience escalating pain over days or weeks before their organs failed. This wasn't efficient weapons testing. This was sadism. Survivors testified, Lyrians who'd been imprisoned in the facility but released before the rebel attack. Each story was harrowing. One woman, barely able to speak through her tears, described watching her daughter die in the chamber next to hers. She was 7. She cried for me, begged them to stop. They just wrote notes on their tablets and watched her die. Another survivor, a man in his 60s, testified about how Thane personally selected test subjects. He walked through the holding cells, pointed at people, children mostly, said they were optimal specimens. He showed no emotion, no hesitation. To him, we weren't people. We were data. Throughout the testimony, Thane sat impassively. No emotion, no remorse. Then it was Kira's turn to testify. She walked to the witness stand, her hands shaking slightly. Marcus gave her an encouraging nod from the gallery. State your name and age for the record, Prosecutor Ramsey said gently. Kira of Lyria. I'm 19 years old. Can you tell the court what you witnessed at Commander Thane's facility 3 years ago? Kira took a breath. Then she told her story, finding the facility while searching for her brother, seeing the prisoners, recording the evidence, being captured during the rebel attack. My brother's name was Jax. He was 10 years old. They took him from our home while he was playing in the garden, told us he was being relocated for his safety. We believed them. Her voice broke. I found him in chamber 247. He was unconscious, connected to machines. I tried to free him, but I couldn't. And then the facility was attacked. I was captured. Jax died when the building collapsed. Did Commander Thane know your brother was among the test subjects? Yes. When they arrested me, he told me directly. He said, your brother served the Empire in death more than your family ever did in life. He mocked me, said I should be grateful Jax contributed to something important. The gallery erupted in angry murmurs. Justice Keelar called for order. And the 3 years you spent imprisoned? Ramsey asked. I was kept in solitary confinement, interrogated repeatedly. They wanted me to confess to being a spy. When I refused, they said I'd be executed as an example. No trial, no defense, just death. Kira looked directly at Thane. You sentenced a 16-year-old girl to death to hide your own crimes. You murdered my brother, you destroyed my life, and you never once showed a single moment of regret. Thane finally spoke. Because I don't regret it. Your brother's death advanced important research. Your imprisonment prevented security leaks. These were strategic necessities. They were murders, Kira shouted. Children aren't strategic assets. They're people. Enough, Justice Keelar said firmly. Commander Thane, you will refrain from addressing the witness directly. Continue, Prosecutor Ramsey. After Kira testified, Marcus was called to the stand. He provided technical testimony about the recordings, their authenticity, the evidence of falsification, the timeline of events. But more importantly, he provided context. Commander Thane didn't just commit crimes in isolation, Marcus explained. He created a system designed to hide those crimes. He falsified reports, intimidated witnesses, used classification as a weapon to prevent accountability. If I hadn't kept those recordings hidden for 3 years, he would have destroyed them, and Kira would have died taking the truth with her. Why did you wait 3 years? Ramsey asked. Because I was afraid of dying, afraid of being wrong, afraid that speaking up wouldn't matter. I told myself that one voice couldn't change anything. But I was wrong. One voice can change everything if it speaks the truth loud enough for others to hear. And what do you hope this trial accomplishes? Marcus looked at Thane. Accountability. Not just for him, but for every person who thinks power exempts them from justice. This trial needs to send a message. No one is above the law. No rank, no authority, no empire can justify what Commander Thane did. And anyone who tries will face consequences. The defense's turn to cross-examine was brief. Thane had refused most legal counsel, insisting on defending himself. Dr. Chen, Thane said, his voice dripping with contempt, you claim to care about justice, but your testimony destroyed an empire. Hundreds of thousands died in the civil war that followed. Entire worlds burned. Was one Lyrian girl worth that cost? Marcus met his eyes. The civil war happened because your empire was built on lies and violence. I didn't destroy it, you did. I just exposed the rot. And yes, one innocent life is worth revealing the truth. Every time. Even if thousands die as a result. Those thousands died because commanders like you prioritize power over decency. Don't blame me for the consequences of your actions. Thane smiled coldly. History will judge which of us was right. History already has, Marcus said. You're standing trial, I'm standing witness, that's the judgment. After 4 weeks of testimony, the prosecution rested its case. Thane's defense was simple. He'd been following orders, doing his duty, making hard choices in wartime. The bioweapons program was authorized by the Council, Thane argued. The facility was approved. The test subjects were designated enemy combatants under martial law. I followed procedure. But the prosecution demolished this defense by producing the falsified authorization documents. These signatures were forged. The real Council members never approved civilian testing. Commander Thane acted alone, then created false documentation to cover his crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. After 3 days of deliberation, the judges returned. Commander Thane, Justice Kalar said, her voice heavy with authority, this court finds you guilty on all charges. Your actions represent the worst abuse of power imaginable. You murdered innocents, falsified evidence, and condemned a child to death to hide your crimes. You claim you were following orders, but you were the one giving orders. You claim wartime necessity, but the war was already over when you continued your experiments. You claim duty to the Empire, but your actions brought shame upon every Rexian who truly serves with honor. The sentence is life imprisonment, to be served in the Interstellar Detention Facility on Alcor Prime. You will have no possibility of parole. You will spend the rest of your days knowing that history will remember you not as a commander, but as a war criminal. Additionally, your rank is stripped, your honors revoked. Your name will be removed from all military records except as a cautionary tale. You are no longer Commander Thane. You are simply Thane, a murderer who betrayed everything he claimed to serve. As guards moved to escort Thane out, he looked at Marcus and Kira one last time. You think you've won, he said quietly, but empires rise and fall. Truth is temporary. Power is eternal. Someone else will do what I did. The cycle will continue. Maybe, Kira said, standing, but not on my watch, and not while people like Marcus have the courage to speak up. Your legacy is shame. Ours is justice. Thane was led away. He never showed remorse, never apologized, never acknowledged the humanity of his victims, but he'd been held accountable, and that mattered. After the sentencing, Marcus and Kira stood outside the courthouse, surrounded by journalists and well-wishers. How do you feel? A reporter asked Kira. Relieved, sad, angry, grateful. She paused. Justice doesn't bring back my brother, doesn't undo 3 years of imprisonment, but it proves that truth matters. that victims have value, that the powerful can be held accountable. Dr. Chen, you've been called the most influential human in Vrexian space. What's next for you? I'm not interested in influence. I'm interested in making sure this never happens again. That's what the Lyrian Recovery Initiative is about. Building systems that prevent abuse, protect the vulnerable, and ensure transparency. Do you have any message for other potential whistleblowers? People who witness crimes but are afraid to speak up? Marcus thought carefully. I understand fear, I lived with it for 3 years, but I learned that silence has a cost too. Every day I stayed quiet. I carried the weight of knowing innocent people were suffering because I was too afraid to help them. When I finally spoke up, yes, I risked everything, but I also found something I'd lost. My integrity. My ability to look at myself in the mirror. So my message is this. If you witness injustice, document it. Protect the evidence. Find allies you trust. And when the moment is right, speak. Your voice matters more than you know. One person speaking truth can change the universe. I'm living proof of that. That evening, Marcus and Kira sat at a quiet cafe overlooking the memorial site on Lyria. It's really over, Kira said quietly. Thane's going to prison. The trials are done. We can finally move forward. Does it feel like closure? Not closure. My brother's still dead. The trauma's still there, but it feels like justice. Like the universe acknowledged what happened to us. That matters. I wish I'd spoken up sooner. Saved your brother, prevented your imprisonment. Marcus, you can't carry guilt for what you couldn't control. You spoke up when you could. That's all anyone can do. Ambassador Cole died because I spoke up. Ambassador Cole died fighting for what was right. She made that choice. You didn't force her. Kira touched his hand. You have to forgive yourself. For your silence. For the consequences of your truth. For being human and afraid. You did something extraordinary, but that doesn't mean you have to be perfect. Marcus looked at the memorial. Hundreds of names carved in stone. Jax's name among them. I'll spend the rest of my life making sure those names mean something, he said. Building a galaxy where this can't happen again. Then you'll never truly be alone in that fight, Kira said, because I'll be right there with you. 5 years after Marcus's testimony, the galaxy had transformed. The Vrexian reformist government had established democratic elections and transparency laws. The Lyrian Recovery Initiative had resettled over 200,000 refugees and rebuilt 3 cities on Lyria. Marcus and Kira stood at the memorial site, dedicating the Ambassador Patricia Cole Memorial Garden. 5 years ago, I was awaiting execution, Kira told the crowd. Marcus spoke truth that saved my life and changed history. Ambassador Cole sacrificed herself so that truth could survive. This garden honors everyone who chooses courage over silence. Marcus added quietly, Ambassador Cole showed us that true leadership is about service, about protecting those who can't protect themselves. We remember the 247 victims. We honor their memories by building a galaxy where truth is valued over power. After the ceremony, Commander Saren visited Marcus privately. You destroyed our corrupt system, she said, and yes, it was painful, but we needed it. Your testimony triggered investigations that found 3 more illegal facilities, hundreds more victims. If you'd stayed silent, they'd still be operating. She handed him a data crystal. The personal files of every victim from all 4 facilities, 247 names. You saved their memories from being erased. 7 years after the testimony, Marcus and Kira addressed the Interstellar Assembly, proposing the Truth and Accountability Act, legislation protecting whistleblowers and establishing evidence standards across all member worlds. One voice can change everything, Marcus told the Assembly. 7 years ago, I was nobody important. But when I spoke truth, it exposed corruption and triggered reform. Silence is its own kind of violence. When we witness injustice and say nothing, we're complicit. The act passed overwhelmingly, becoming interstellar law. 10 years later, Marcus stood in the memorial garden with Kira, now Lyria's Prime Minister. Do you have any regrets? She asked. I regret my 3 years of silence, Ambassador Cole's death, not saving your brother, but the testimony itself? No, that was right. They sat beneath the silver oak tree they'd planted years earlier, watching the sun set over rebuilt Lyria. Thank you, Kira said, for speaking up, for saving me, for teaching me that truth matters. Thank you for giving me a reason to be brave, Marcus replied. We saved each other. Marcus Chen died peacefully at 72, surrounded by loved ones. Kira delivered his eulogy to thousands. Marcus taught us that one voice matters, that ordinary people can do extraordinary things, that the smallest act of courage can change millions of lives. He was my savior, my mentor, my family. And the galaxy is better because he lived, because he spoke, because he cared. His gravestone read, Marcus Chen, one voice can change the universe. 50 years later, students across the galaxy studied the Chen testimony. Whistleblowers facing consequences drew strength from his example. The memorial garden became a pilgrimage site. Kira, in her final years, wrote his biography. Marcus wasn't born a hero. He became one. Heroism isn't being fearless. It's being afraid and acting anyway. It's choosing what's right over what's easy. He proved that one voice, one truth, one moment of courage can change the universe. The human who'd been nobody important, who became someone who changed everything. One voice, one truth, one universe forever transformed.